Alright, let's go ahead and hook our contraption up. My Rawze's experiment from hell box to our turbo actuator. I've got this thing unplugged here. That's the main plug for the turbo BG controller. I don't need power from the truck because it's got its own batteries. And we will try this. We already tried this once and it didn't work. I had to solder a wire. So that's what happens when you have a prototype box that's been taken apart 500 times. Anyway. Alright, let's see what happens. Contact. Ooh, that sounds good. Can you hear that?
I can hear that.
I don't know if you can get that in the video, but we'll get up close to it where you can actually hear the sound. I don't know if you want to... Here, I'll go ahead and put the box right here. I don't know how close you can get with the camera so you can hear the sound too, but if you want to get really close with the camera where you can see the screen and kind of the whole box in this area right here. Now, that's just monitor mode. I'm going to go to manual control mode. Right there is the position that it's reporting. That's the position I've commanded it to with the knob. And this is the amperage, and that's the temperature of the unit, actually, because the engine was on earlier. It's still at 96 degrees. Yeah, it's a little warm. It's about 90 degrees. So it's giving me the temperature, the amperage, and the position it's telling me that it's at, and that up there is the position I've commanded it to, and of course it's in manual mode. So if I turn this knob, it's going to follow me. You see that? 28. It's going to show me the amperage. And that amperage is very important because I go all the way to 0 and I only got like 1 or 2 amps. You see that? You can also hear it. Hear it? If you can hear that with the camera. Mm-hmm. That's right at 0. You can hear it moving. Hand out the picture here. There we go. 70, 80, 90, 100%. Right? And it's about an amp going one way, maybe 2. And about 2 amps, 1 amp going the other way. I'll move it a little faster. You can hear it removing. You can hear it rolling around in there. I don't know if you can get that on the camera. Mm-hmm. Sound?
Yes.
I say that actuator and turbo has about 560,000 miles on it already. It's old, but it's in good shape. I mean, it runs good. The engine runs great. Truck gets 8 or 9 miles at a gallon everywhere we go, so I can't say there's something wrong with it. That sounds good. All right, now I'm going to put it in seek mode, and that automatically makes it move back and forth from 0 to 100%, and we can control the speed here. All right? Sounds kind of like a washing machine.
I just go to it.
All right, so that's great. This is one that works pretty good, okay? Now, so let's go to your truck now, which we know yours has a defective turbo on it. And I'm gonna go ahead and hold that while I pop this. See, normally you'd have to to get this plug off because this is the engine plug here. Mine's broken, but normally it's this kind of plug. You just push this to the side like that. You push this tab down, and then you wiggle it like that. Tab, and it comes loose. So let's go to your truck, and yours is an 08 9900.
Yes.
How old's your turbo?
Rolling?
All right, so now we're going to your truck, and you said you have a 9900 and 08.
Yes.
Has your turbo ever been? You said maybe.
I don't think so. If it ever has been done, it was at 300,000 kilometers, and yes, I speak metric.
I do too.
That's all right. I have no problem with that. So your truck has a total of how many miles on the engine? Or kilometers on the engine?
Just a little over 1 million.
Okay, so that's what 670, 700.
About there, yeah.
Okay, yeah, miles somewhere in there.
Between 660 and 700,000 miles.
Somebody can look that up. I'm not going to bother looking it up right now. But the turbo has been replaced at one point. It's not painted red, but who knows how long ago since you don't know.
It would have been at 300,000 kilometers.
Maybe, yeah, okay. And this is a workhorse. This truck works hard. You run heavy loads.
I pull a little heavy, yes. Anywhere from 100. Well, I bought the truck at 650,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
It had 9,200 hours on it, and all it ever did was pull 5 axle. That's why I bought it. Because in my opinion, it's never worked. Since I bought it, it's pulled Super Bs up north at 140,000.
Yeah.
And the last couple months, I've been torturing it on a 9-axle at between 160 to 185,000 pounds.
Holy cow! This thing works.
Over 60,000 pounds when I'm empty.
This thing works. And what's the horsepower set to? You
It's
got
set
a
at
custom program, right?
It's a factory 500 set at 5 1/4.
Okay,
25 horse is all we gave it, and it does really well.
that's good.
And yes, I made the mistake of opening the hood at Rawze's house.
Yeah, you open the hood at Raw's house, he's gonna pick on you.
Yeah.
So I asked him. I said, "Well, can I play with my contraption on your truck?" You know, and I was like, "I don't know. Raw's gonna blow something up." But anyways, let's try his truck now. We unplugged it. I don't know if you can zoom in here. And I want you to get kind of close in because the sound of his is different than mine too. I'm gonna plug this contraption, this Frankenstein wannabe box, a manual VG controller box. Let's plug it into his, and his has got problems, and we know this because we did this once before. And we're gonna turn it on. Sounds about the same. It's nice and quiet. Can hardly hear it. But I'm gonna put it in manual mode, and it says, I don't know if you want to get close so you can hear with the camera too. Can you see the screen?
Think so.
All right, it says I'm at 27%. It sounds similar to mine. But when you get to about 60%, ooh, it's hitting 12 amps. So it's actually hanging up. Oh, and it sounds bad. At about 60%. And it just doesn't want to go past that. It's just jammed. Oh, it finally jumped and got to 100%. You hear that? It jumped. Mm-hmm. We'll do that again. And I'll keep my mouth shut this time. Oh, that turbo's in bad shape. Oh my God, it sounds bad. And I'm gonna go ahead and put it in sync mode where it jumps back and forth. And we'll turn it up a little bit. Oh my God, that thing sounds bad. So this box has really revealed that some of the problems you've been having. You say you've been having boost issues. Sometimes it'll overboost because what's happening here is it's hanging up. It's hanging up at about 50 or 60%, which is about the upper end of where you want to run it anyways. And then it just jumps. And that's probably why you're getting surges. Because you can hear it and you can feel it in there. You can kind of hear the sound, but
I'm pretty sure the top end is maybe 55% on this because of the large air-to-air.
yeah, you got a large air-to-air on. But when your engine brake kicks on, it's liable to jump. Oh, that thing sounds bad.
And the actuator was changed just after I bought the truck, so the actuator is only about 300,000 kilometers old.
So the actuator is new.
fairly new.
Yeah, so the actuator is new, fairly new, but the turbo is a goner. It needs to be torn down. You know, new VG ring, new bushings, new, you know, or sent back and replaced with an OEM, you know, one or the other. But yeah, it's sad. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but
I had that feeling. I hate when that feeling's right.
you know, you come over here, I'm gonna pick on your truck, and I'm gonna, you might end up with Raw's playing with a box or something.
So what else could you do with this box?
I could control. The way it is right now, I can control any of the BG actuators, which would be on the ISX, would be the A71, 22, 250. All I would have to do is put it in monitor mode and hook it to my laptop, because it has a monitor mode as well, where it just monitors the communication between the computer, the engine computer, and the actuator, or the engine computer and any other device I tell it to, and I can actually record the data. See what the commands are, see what the responses are, and then I can go and analyze that data later, and I can say, oh, well, let's emulate this command and see if it actually works. And that's how I got this far. So I've been emulating commands, and I actually got quite far with it so far. But I could use this box to control about anything, and with a couple of inputs, because it's Arduino, it's got like analog inputs, you know, or digital, or I could actually use the J1939 if I wanted to, because I know how to access that now. You know, with the accelerator pedal and the RPM of the engine, that's all you really need to control one of these turbos most of the time. So you could actually put on any engine.
So what could we do, say, if I thought I had a boost loop?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good idea. we also did this on my truck, right?
Yes.
Yes. We connected this box. We cranked the engine. Of course, we had to check engine light because
With the
the
engine
turbo's
running.
disconnected. Yeah.
Yes.
But I could manually control the turbo. And what we did on my engine was I turned this turbo up at idle. I turned it up to like 95%.
90, 95, yeah.
It pulled the engine under. It choked the exhaust, which actually is the same thing as taking the engine and putting it under an engine load, because it has to labor
or
against
an
its own exhaust
brake,
pressure.
or, yes.
Yeah. So I pulled a high percentage, and it pulled an engine load, but it also pressurized the intake like with 30 pounds of boost or 25 pounds of boost. So you could actually check for all your charge air cooler leaks, all your EGR circuit leaks. You could check your EGR circuitry. You could check your intake. So with just that knob, I was able to put the engine under load with it sitting right here. You know, not a big load, it's a little bit of one. And plus, check for any leaks. I could put soapy water on anything or check.
So at a dead idle,
so
you
it's
can
kind of
build
cool.
10, 15 pounds of boost, go around with a squirt bottle.
Oh yeah. Or
You
the
got
exhaust
air
manifold while it's warming up, you know, as long as it's not so hot, it just burns it off. So put the soapy water on the exhaust. I mean, it's cool as crap, man. It's like, I think it's good. I think it's cool. I'm not
Picking on poor Donkey. This is my truck, Donkey.
what's his name?
Donkey.
Donkey. You know, the last guy was here said his truck was a she. I was like, where's the female?
The reason it's Donkey is because it ain't pretty.
Because I want to see
but
the
it does
female
what it
part
needs
so I can
to do.
stick a wrench in there.
Ooh, kinky.
Well, you know, he asked for it. So.
And yes, we've been playing with Rawze's box all day.
This box.
That box, yes, that box.
You have got me screwed up because I've had about 3 beers, and it's obvious at this point. And we've just been like having a great time all day, and
Been playing tow truck.
been playing. Oh, all right. So it's been raining for like 3 days, and I've been trying to get my truck in my backyard, and like I says, this Canadian guy, you know, they got all these chains, they got all this crap on their truck, they got these tow hooks. Hey, I'm gonna drive my truck in the backyard and see if it goes back there. So I drove my truck in the backyard, it sank to the oil pan. Boom, right to the axle, right into the dirt. So, yeah, the tow hooks work really well on your truck.
They do, yes.
Yeah, and now there's a big hole in my backyard where I dug the front axle in.
And personally, I blame the turbo on that. So
See,
I
his
think the
turbo
whole
was
turbo
the problem.
thing is wrong.
Yeah, his turbo was the problem.
It
'Cause
was-
my truck was running back there, and it knew that my, yeah.
It was like brand new when I got here, I swear.
Oh, is that it? Yeah.
So yeah, this is a 9900 with an ISX. Big difference. I don't really care about aerodynamics.
Obviously, because
I
I
was
pick on all
wondering.
you guys with those square noses. I can't stand them.
I'm wondering, I'm having a tough time
What?
hitting that 8-9 miles a gallon. What do you think I can do to hit that 8-9 miles a gallon?
I know.
Loaded, of course.
No. I know the answer.
Pull the pin?
No. Up there. You see that? Look. See that mirror?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yes.
She's got to follow with the camera here. See that mirror? See that antenna?
Yes.
Right up there at the very top. See right there in the trees? That little black cap at the top of that CB antenna? You see that black cap? That little tiny black cap up there? The little wiggly antenna?
Yeah.
You see it up there? You got to take like you got to get this in a bay. You got to get this in a truck bay with like a 30-ton overhead crane, okay? You got to get the big hook and the sling on that little tiny cap,
Yeah.
and you got to sling it, and you got to lift that tiny little plastic cap with that 30-ton crane,
And then pull the
get it
truck
off.
out.
And no, everything underneath that cap, you pull it out, and
Yeah.
you put a Pro Star there, and you put the cap back on.
Okay.
And then you'll get 9 miles to the gallon. But you can only do that if you run drive-in and freight at
I can't do that
80,000
with
pounds
my
or less,
trailer?
and you drive 55 miles an hour,
Jeez.
like we did. Because we don't ever drive 55 to 60.
There's a lot
Then
of
you might get 8 or 9.
there's a lot of days where I'm doing jumping jacks if I can hit 4 miles a gallon, which is actually quite impressive.
Well, at
for some of the stuff I
190,000
do.
pounds, yeah.
Well, in Canadian soft rough roads, hills, you know,
Well, you guys get the really beat up roads too.
yeah.
You know, potholes over there will put you up to about here in your neck, you know.
Pulling Super B on the right roads in the right conditions. With me not being in a rush, I can't say I'll do it all the time, but I have had times where I've hit 7 miles American at 140,000 pounds in 8 axles. But I'll tell you, I wasn't
pretty
racing
good.
up the hills.
That's pretty good.
And I can't do it all the time, but I do what I can when I can, and I never run the truck under a full load.
Well, what
Never.
we do when we see a hill, I mean, we even look at a hill. My truck even looks at a hill. It's like, hill. We only got a 10 speed. So as soon as we see the hill, 9th gear, 1700 RPM, 5 pounds of boost, 8 pounds of boost, 10 pounds of boost, and let it.
Yeah.
let it creep up. And if 10 pounds of boost won't get it in ninth gear, drop it to 8th. 10 pounds of boost, drop it to 7. 10 pounds of boost. Actually work that stick, and then you're still pulling 7 miles a gallon straight up that hill. And then you're getting 10 going down the other side.
I'm never on cruise. I try and run the train as much as I can. A lot of times I'll run at 25, 20 pounds of boost, whatever I can do. Some days it doesn't matter what I can do. I can be full boost and I still can't hit 50 miles an hour if you got a 60-mile headwind. But
yeah, you got all that weight.
I don't.
It's your square nose. I'm, everybody.
And the rolling
everybody
resistance on the
forums,
tires. I mean,
everybody on my internet forum, they just, I really pick on the square nose guys because a lot of them are running the big square nose, which there's a good cowboy ego factor going on there. Proud of my big honking truck, and I'm gonna tell you something. Those trucks are 10 times tougher than my dinky little ProStar. My ProStar is like a Cavalier, not a Camaro. It's like a junky truck, but it's so profitable and it's so easy to work on that I can keep more money in my pocket in 1,000,000 miles than those guys can. Only because of the fuel mileage and the savings.
Yes.
It's not because I don't work on it less. It's because even though I do replace things more often, it's just so easy to do. It's so quick for me to do it myself. And it's not expensive. The stuff that I do have to replace, a little wiring problem, this, that, and the other, it's not that big a difference. But yet the fuel mileage is so much more. I could buy a second truck by the time they get to 1,000,000 miles. And that's the big deal for what we do.
Every truck has got its place. I mean,
but we can't go off the road. We can't take it off the highway because it'll tear it up.
This truck,
it's a highway truck.
It's done a lot of off-road. I mean, you even look at the front bumper, the way this truck sits.
Yeah.
And the reason I run the big square nose is because aerodynamics is about this much of what I do.
Right.
If I wanted to do 70 miles an hour, I don't.
Well, see, that's why I pick on them, because it's the guys that come on my forum that have the square nose.
Yeah.
They're running dry van reefer freight like we are. They're trying to compete against guys like us. Right, and they're complaining about 6 miles to the gallon is all they can get. They're competing against people who are getting 8 and 9 with these modern trucks. Okay, they're doing nothing but complaining. They're doing nothing but saying they have nothing but problems, and that's why I pick on them, because because what they're paying for is their attitude. They're paying for their image.
Yeah.
They're not in it for a high profit margin. They're not in it to be proud of how much money they made at the end of the year.
Doing a big bill pug.
I don't know, but that's the guys I pick on. I don't pick on the guys that need the equipment. There's no way I could haul 180,000 pounds on my ProStar because the engine would overheat. It doesn't have the airflow. This does.
And that's a big thing.
That's when you need them.
When I bought this truck, I didn't want a truck to pull dry van. I didn't want a truck to do one thing. I wanted a truck that would do everything. And I do have run a lot of off-road. And the biggest thing I'm up against is getting rid of the heat.
Yes.
I talk to a lot of guys and they go, "You must love a tailwind." No. I hate them because I can't shut the fan off even if I'm not working because I got no airflow. I can't get rid of the heat. I would rather take a headwind and have to drop a full gear.
Yeah.
And yes, the truck does have an 18-speed and a 3-way lockers, but this truck, in all reality, my running gear is pretty light. I've got the lighter 18-speed. I've only got the Super 40 rear ends. But I don't care how big a rear ends you got. If you got the mentality where they ain't going to break, you're going to break them.
Well, see, what's weird about mine is mine came factory with 42K rears instead of the 20 or 30, 34, whatever they are.
Yes.
40s or whatever. Mine's got the bigger rear ends in it for some reason. I don't know why. But mine came from the factory with a bigger rear.
See, at home,
why you would put bigger rears in a big car, I don't know, because you got to go take it off road.
See, at home, the Super 40s are the lightest rear ends you can possibly run. Most of the trucks at home are running the 46s.
Yeah. That's what I have, the 46s. I got the bigger ones.
And I ran in the oil patch in brutal country, and everybody told me I was going to blow them up, and I never did. But I always ran my power divider. I always knew what I had. I always was conscious of it. With a lot of them guys with the heavy rear ends, they never locked nothing up, and they were hammered down all the time. It didn't matter if tires were jumping off the ground, and they were blowing them up left, right, and center. But a lot of it was shock load and just pure stupidity, eh?
Yeah. We got to play with a little cool box.
We did.
We got to find out your turbo was bad, which is going to cost you a few grand.
I cried a little. I think I'm going to cry a little more tonight.
You know?
So what's the failure rate on the actual motor?
In the actuators?
Yes.
What gets the motors is contamination. If you let the turbo get so old that it starts blowing soot up into the actuator because the top bushing goes bad. I don't know if you can see this on the camera. The turbo here, where it meets the actuator, here's the turbo. Here's the actuator, here's the turbo. Where that meets, there's a bushing in there where that gear sits in there, because there's a gear in here that turns. When that bushing wears slap out
and starts blowing soot up in there, it starts to eat into the bearings. And that's why I said, I know somebody who changed all the bearings out on these things now. Just this part, not the whole thing. Anyways, but these things here, what happens is the soot and everything gets in them, and it eats the bearings up and stuff. What gets the motor's brushless, and the motor has a bearing in it. So if the soot gets in there and packs up in there enough, it'll mess up the motor. What really gets the motor is just when the bearings and everything wear out, you get metal shavings, and that just grinds into the motor.
So what you're saying?
So if you serviced this at like 400,000 or something, or 350,000, just tore it down, cleaned it, replaced all the bearings, resprayed the circuit board with Protect It, to keep the moisture off of it, stuff like that, you probably would double its life.
So what you're saying is, with a little bit of maintenance, you pre-maintenance before you actually need it,
before it's completely dead,
you could actually save a lot of money and go a lot further on the parts.
Yeah.
Somebody should make a website on that.
Maybe.
Doing maintenance.
Well, my
and
first
keeping
one
these things
lasted
running.
583,000 miles without doing anything to it. So that's a pretty good long life.
This one was done at about 10,000 hours.
Yeah, but yours has had a hard life. Your engine works hard, your turbo works hard.
Yes.
And that may be why, something's wrong in here now.
But the first 600 on this engine was actually pulling 5-axle, although I think the guys that ran it believed into that propaganda, running them at lower RPMs and cruise and everything else.
Yeah.
But, okay.